It is now August, which is prime gardening time here in Canada. And as you can see, the garden is in full bloom. But I am already thinking about what I can start direct sowing in the garden in order to get my fall harvest. And I want to take you through these 10 seeds that you can be planting in your garden in August here in Canada in order to still get a harvest this fall. What's up? It's Bree from Urban Gardening Canada, and I garden in Ottawa, Zone 5. And today I'm going to be taking you through what you can direct sow here in August. If you've never grown a fall garden before, I highly recommend doing it this year. It literally is such an amazing time to be gardening. The weather is cooler, the rain is abundant, and so you don't have to go out and maintain your garden too much. The bugs are all done for the season, so you have very little pest damage to worry about, and you get to be eating fresh harvested food way later than most other gardeners. So with that, I'm going to take you through 10 plants you could be direct sowing right now in order to get an amazing fall garden this year. So the first up is radishes, and what makes these so great is that they are 30 days to maturity from seed to harvest. And so even if you have a shorter growing season than I do here in Ottawa, you still have time to be sowing these seeds and getting a harvest before your first frost date. The second is carrots, and although they have a longer growing season, they can handle a frost and can actually be harvested in the spring. So if you aren't able to get to them before your first frost comes, you don't have to worry about it because you can have a chance to harvest them in the springtime. The other option is you can grow these under cover, so that way it helps prolong their season a little bit longer. And you can always harvest your carrots when they're smaller as baby carrots, so now is a great time to be sowing them. So next up is beans. I always fill all of my garden spaces with beans because they're so simple to plant and grow. You can get bean varieties that only take 45 days from seed to harvest, so you will have time from now until your first frost date to be able to harvest some beans. They do fill out the space in your garden amazingly well and come with a massive harvest with them. So next up is lettuce. Lettuce is an amazing cool season crop. All you have to do is sprinkle the seeds in the garden because they like light to germinate, and then you can be harvesting your lettuce anywhere from 45 to 60 days. And because they like cool weather, you don't have to worry about the temperatures changing overnight, but they don't like frost. So if you are going to be growing it, just make sure if you get any type of frost that night that you cover it up, but they can handle cool temperatures as long as they're covered during the overnight frost. So next up is peas. This one is an iconic spring crop, but you can actually be growing them in the fall. You can get peas that have a days to maturity of 45 days. So if you plant them now, you should be able to get a harvest before your first frost comes. Otherwise, if you could throw frost cloth over top of however they're growing, that's a great way to prolong them, and you can be getting a delicious garden snack right into the fall. So next up is spinach. This is another amazing cool season crop. Spinach often bolts in the heat when you plant it in spring, so this time when you plant it in the fall, you'll be able to get a really great harvest off your spinach, and it won't go to flower, and you'll be able to be eating spinach right into your first frost date because of how hardy it is. All right, so next up is my favorite, which is Swiss chard. I am growing tons of it, although the birds love to eat it. And what's amazing about this plant is that it can handle temperatures down to 0 degrees Celsius and can actually go to -4. Although it doesn't like frost, it can handle a light frost. And what's amazing about Swiss chard is that it is great from the spring all the way through to the fall because it grows similar to succulents where it holds a lot of water in its stem. It is drought tolerant, and it also is cold tolerant, so you can grow it in the summer and through the fall. So if you don't have it in your garden now, I recommend adding it in. It's a great leafy green that can take you through your first frost date. All right, 8th on the list is kale. Of course, kale is a staple in any cold season garden because kale is known to taste better after it gets hit by a frost. And so you really want to be adding that kale into your fall garden so that way you get that sweet kale that comes at the end of the season when your first frost comes through and gives it that nice hit that it needs to give out the sugars that make it nice and tasty. Okay, so we're down to the final two, and these are both herbs. Both dill and cilantro are big fans of the cool weather, and so sowing dill and cilantro in August will mean that you have a good amount of herbs for the fall time. And both of them, you can just sow them directly on top of the soil and disperse them, and they will take root and start growing. They're super simple to plant, and they will be able to give you herbs for the fall time. And if you end up with too much dill, you can always dry it out for the remainder of the season, so you can have dill all winter long. And of course, cilantro. This is another great one that loves the cool season, so you can be having fresh herbs further into your fall garden when the summer garden has wrapped up. And that's everything for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.